Hi guys, I just wanted to get on here and kind of talk about some frequently asked questions that I've had out at the Moto track, taking pictures and stuff. So one of the biggest things that I'm going to start off by saying, this was like one of the first things that was said to me as an early photographer, was to stop shooting in like modes. A lot of people will take a like a Rebel camera, which is usually what a lot of people start out with, or something similar, and they will shoot in like a sport mode or an automatic mode. Best thing to do is to break that habit really fast, because it like auto sets like your settings, and you can't quite get the picture that you want to capture with those automatic settings. So first things first, stop shooting in an automatic mode, switch to manual. It is hard. You will take a lot of crap photos for a while, but I promise you, you'll get the hang of shooting in manual mode, making minor adjustments based on light or where you're taking pictures at, like whether it's a turn, a jump, a rhythm section, or a straight. You can adjust your settings to kind of accommodate whatever you're trying to shoot. So for your settings, it's like the biggest thing. There's a ton of cheat sheets on like Pinterest. I still use cheat sheets to this day because I second guess myself all the time. But you want to make sure if your ISO, your f-stop, and your shutter speed. Your ISO is like how much light there is during the day. So if it's super sunny, bright, sunny Texas day, then you want to have like a low ISO. If you're shooting in kind of like overcasted or something, you want to kind of bump it up. That way it can bring in more light through your camera. Next is your f-stop. That's your like your aperture. So you want to make sure that it's like the field of depth that you're focusing on. You can kind of play with this, and this is just personal preference of what you want your image to look like. So me, I like to capture detail every part of the image, not just the subject, like being the rider or the bike. So I want to make sure that I have a high f-stop or higher f-stop, so I can get more detail. So whether it's like leaves on the trees or spectators that are cheering on the riders or something, then I can capture the detail of that too, because that's just as important as the rider itself. If you want to blur those guys out, you can just set your f-stop pretty low and it'll blur out kind of the background noise. Again, that's just a personal preference on what you want your image to look like. I play kind of with both of them, but for the most part, I like to capture detail of like the whole part of the image and get like the full depth of the image, that I'm trying to capture. So next is your shutter speed. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, do you want a blurred image, or do you want to basically take a still photo? This means stopping the tires where they are, stopping the dirt where it is. Some photographers, like Winpick, is really good at creating like a motion type of image. That's really good, takes a lot of technique, you'll get there. And a lot of like beginner level Rebel cameras don't really have high shutter speeds. That's when you start getting into like your intermediate and advanced cameras that will have those higher shutter speeds. I actually had to like take a step up because my images weren't still enough. Some of these guys go really fast, and I want to catch them where they are and basically stop them in time. That includes tires, that includes dirt. So I have my shutter speed as high as it'll go. You can usually play it safe around like 4,000, but like my camera can go up to 8. I like to shoot around 8,000, just based on the catching the fast guys exactly where they're at. So another thing you want to keep in mind whenever you're kind of like looking at cameras is your lens length. So I have my camera here. I have a short lens. So as you can see, it's a 24 to 105. This, I have to get pretty close. I don't know if y'all have ever seen me out taking pictures. I'm on the track. So that's the only disadvantage to having a lens this short is I have to get pretty close. Now from a safety perspective, so hypothetically, if you were gonna shoot a moto race, sometimes they don't let you on the track, sometimes they do. In a moto track, this camera does not work. I've shot moto with this lens and I'm not close enough. So the biggest thing is choosing your lens length. Now, the great thing with this is that I can go into the woods and create that like fisheye picture. Y'all might have seen some of those, and where you can kind of get like the whole bike in the frame and it's like super wide and it looks like they're kind of like going like this. And that's a picture that I really like to take, so that's why I still shoot hair scrambles and like enduros and stuff with this camera, because it does just fine. I don't mind being close to the track. I usually get behind something that where if they were going to hit me, they're gonna hit a lot of other stuff before they get to me. So it's just a safety measure. I don't mind being close, but you know, sometimes other people don't want to get super close. A good lens to have if you don't want to have one this short is a 70 to 300 lens. That's something that my friend Chloe shoots with. She shoots with a 70 to 300, and you can be out on a grass track and getting people ripping through a corner and along the straight and then back out as they're approaching you and still get a good head-on shot. The only disadvantage to a 70 to 300 is that if you were to go into the woods or try to get something a little bit closer up, you can only get so close. You actually have to really separate yourself from where you're standing versus where you want to take an image. So that's the only disadvantage too. This lens came with this body whenever I bought it. So it wasn't too bad if I wanted to go buy, which I've been considering it, buying an extra zoom lens, then either a 70 to 300 or a 100 to 400 millimeter would work really good for this sport. I'm going to use a 100 to 400 millimeter on the moto track like this weekend. So next thing, now that we're talking about lenses, is your lens hood. We usually shoot in really, really sunny Texas conditions, and this lens hood prevents like the sun flare on your image. So I prefer shooting with a lens hood. Again, that's just personal preference. If you like the flare, like it's the aesthetic of the photo that you're trying to capture, then that's all you. Most lenses come with lens hoods. If not, they're super inexpensive to put on your lens. So a lot of other questions that I have is, what kind of camera is this? This is a Canon R5. This is a great camera. I rented multiple brands and different types of camera of each brand, and this is the one that I kept coming back to. It gave me the photo that I really wanted. Some say like Sony's are really dreamy and Nikon's are like super saturated, like the color of their image, but Canons are super user friendly, and I just liked the photos that I was getting on this R5 matched exactly like what I had in my head of the image I was trying to capture. So the R5 is great for like sports photography. It's a mirrorless camera. So the thing with the mirrorless is like it's got high image quality, fast shutter speed. The only disadvantage is that if I was going to switch out to a different lens, I would need an adapter, and you just put the adapter between the lens and the body. Not much of a disadvantage, but it's just like one of those things. The shutter speed is great. It records video, which does like 8K, 4K video, which is really nice. I've been kind of dabbling into video a little bit, making reels for Instagram and TikTok. It has auto focus tracking, which is great for video and great for the sport. So I was able to, get the rider, and it would autofocus on the rider as they're moving. So I'm moving my camera, but it's keeping focus on the rider. It's not capturing focus of anything else, like a tree or a spectator or whatever. It's keeping that focus of the rider. So that's really, really nice. It's also really nice that whenever you're taking pictures, you're, say like you kind of depress the shutter button, and it'll start tracking them. And then when I get them exactly where I want to capture the image, I just depress it all the way, and it'll take the picture I want. One of the other words of advice that I got from other photographer is you want to make sure that you take the picture that you want. A lot of people get super excited, especially like beginner photographers and sports photography, is they're like, well, I'll just take 4 shots of this rider coming up, but 90% of the time you're only going to use one. And if you take 4 shots of each rider and say there's 100 riders per race, that's a lot of photos, but you're only going to use a quarter of them. So that's a lot of wasted time. The editing, you'll save time editing your pictures and everything. And plus it's just more work, takes up more space on your memory card. So don't push the button until it's exactly the picture that you want. Some of the biggest mistakes that I've made early on is not having enough charged batteries. So I would usually just take 1 battery to a race, and I run out of battery really fast. When you're videoing, it goes even faster. If you see me out at the races, I usually wear a fanny pack, and it has batteries and memory cards in them. So there's nothing worse than going to a race and taking a whole bunch of pictures and then running out of memory. So highly recommend having just extra memory cards, extra batteries. Another mistake that I made was like not advertising and networking enough. So I really like to talk to people when I'm out at the races, and sometimes they know me as Dylan's girlfriend, or Kirby who races, or Lynn Bailey's daughter, but they don't know that I'm also the chick that takes pictures. So kind of bridging the gap between the two and just making sure that people know, like, hey, I've taken pictures. I'm the one who has the MXR Media, or now the Riders to Racers brand. Hold on a second. Sorry, he's yelling at me. And really just trying to advertise while you're out there and be like, hey, like, follow me on Instagram. I'm gonna post pictures. I gotta go, but those are just some of the like basic things that a lot of people have been asking me about. I just wanted to provide some information and some feedback. If you have any more detailed questions, please DM me or reach out. I love talking about photography. I love photography almost as much as I like riding dirt bikes. So it's really fun. I would love to open a discussion about it. So yeah, just hit me up.
So I am going to show you how to edit a photo. This is the raw photo that I took of Lane. Going to upload it. So I have presets made already for the different types of events that I do. I usually like to stick with my Woods or Woods 2 for the dirt bike. pictures, it already kind of has the settings already made. It's a little light, so I'm going to darken it up. It was really sunny that day, so I'm going to darken the exposure just a little bit. I don't like a lot of wasted space in my pictures. I really want you to, I'll leave the roost. I really want you to focus on the subject of the image. I'm going to crop this down too. I don't want you looking at the trucks. And then I'm going to crop the berm out too. I was standing on the outside of the turn. Oh yeah. So the settings were great on my camera that day. I was using a great lens. You can see all parts of this picture so clear. You can see his eyes and the dirt on his face, the dirt on his bike. You can read most of the logos on his shirt. This is good. Okay, so you can see my settings there on the side. Usually I like to warm up the picture, but with the color of the dirt, I'm going to leave it. Texture, clarity, dehaze are something that I use a lot with shooting dirt bikes. You can see it takes all the detail out of the dirt. Same with texture. I really like to increase the texture so you can see the detail of the dirt in the picture. Shadows. It's really important to me that you see their eyes. The helmet visor creates a shadow. And you can also see all the stuff on all the logos on his jersey. Same with highlights. Kind of saturates the image with a lot of light. I like to darken it up just to provide more detail. Contrast is important to me. Really makes the picture more vibrant. So if you get the presets just right, you can create your preset with how each one is, so you can just quickly apply the preset to the photos that you took that day and save some time while editing and just making some like minor adjustments here and there. Save the picture. I have an album for Lane. I'm gonna save it to this album. Okay. So this is a picture of Riley. I didn't really like this picture that I took because it's really overcast that day. There's a lot of like wasted space going on. Like I really like to get close-up images. I'm gonna apply my setting first and then crop it down. You can see there's still just a lot of stuff. It's dusty, not very clear. Sometimes when you don't have a lot of sunlight, pictures, you're setting, based on whatever your settings are on your camera. So I'm going to increase the clarity to try to take some of that haze out. Yeah, that's a little bit better. That really makes the color of his bike look better too. See if I crop it this way, what it look like. Nah. Okay, never mind. I take it back. Maybe offset him from the center. See what that looks like. Not that bad. Increase the temp a little bit since it's overcast that day. Make it look like, try to bring some sunlight into this picture. You can see just the detail isn't there. That's what it was, but that's what it is. What it was, what it is. Oh, it looks so much better. You can save some pictures with some editing. You'd be surprised. I like this better. Ooh, yeah. Okay. We're gonna save that one. That's good. I don't have an album for Riley. We'll just save it to my desktop. Okay. I'm gonna show you some pictures that I took this last weekend. This is this is a great pic. I had my settings all wrong. The sun is so saturated, you can tell the color of Josh's bike. I've already edited this, but I couldn't save the color of the KTM. John looks okay, but man, that roost was so good. I tried it in black and white, but you can still see the center of the photo. It just has a lot of light in the middle of it. Great picture. Should have had the settings right on my camera. This is a good one of Bennett. I like the sand. Sand makes for good photos. You can still see the top of his helmet color is not quite right. The sun. The sand is so nice. Look at his helmet. And right there. So the sun saturates. Yeah, right there is okay. The sun saturates that roost, though. The trees look good. So you can tell, like, when they're in a turn like this, they're coming into the turn. You have to time it right? Because they can be right here, but you want to get them while they're accelerating through the turn, because then you have your roost. Oh, look at that elbow. Also, make sure your technique is right. That's why, pro riders and A riders make for a little bit better pictures, because, man, they have the elbows up, feet on the foot pegs. They're not walking their bike through the turn. Jeffrey did good. Elbows up, roosting, accelerating through the turn. But you can still see the color difference of the shadow here versus the direct sun here. Just make sure your settings are right. Cool little battle. So you can see the different position through the turn. She's like head on here. You can see her eyes. Different pictures, got different shadows. So this is a picture of Bennett. Same picture of Bennett. One's, vertical, one's horizontal. Just trying to offer some different. I liked them both. This picture was originally vertical, but I cropped it horizontally. It just made for a better picture. This is why technique is so important when you're riding. It makes for good photos. Look at his elbows. Good technique. Look at that foot. Good technique. You can see the log that they're jumping over here. You can see the color of the bike in direct sunlight. It kind of saturates it. You just have to play in Lightroom and see what settings work good when you're editing these photos. So this is a good spot because it's super shaded right here. There's no direct sunlight. And as you can see, my settings weren't quite right because a lot of detail is missing. Same here. There's a lot of shadow, and he was also going really fast, but the detail isn't quite there. Good picture. Really good picture. This is one of my favorite pictures. Just based on the shadow, it's alright. Look at his feet on foot pegs. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Good job, John. KTMs shoot better in shade because the sun doesn't saturate. Okay, I was standing. This is a good spot. Getting them coming through this turn here. I was on the inside of the turn on this side, but I was standing over here to take some pictures. I'll show you. See, this is the outside of the turn. I love when they hit that sand. All the roost makes for a good picture. You want to make sure you have your shutter speed all the way up so you can capture all this roost. Turn your shutter speed all the way up. More roost. Increase your texture. Get all that dirt in your photo. You're stealing. That tree's in my way. Here's another good picture. So it's kind of overcasted and in the woods. You see the clarity of the photo isn't super great, but it makes for a good picture. Same here. Super dark where I was. Look at that. So, just to provide some example. Oh, this one's good. So there's a lot of shadow up in the top here. You can't see his face. But then his bike's in the sunlight. So shooting here is a lot better. See that you can see the sunlight. And again, another oversaturated KTM. This one's good. Red bike, black gear, not super saturated. Getting them, ooh, acceleration. So right here, I was doing it kind of good, but you're not always going to get the same picture of every rider coming through the same spot. My exposure was way too high here. Should have lowered it just a little bit. Jump. Just to provide some examples. Again, you can't take the same picture of every rider going in the same spot. They're all going to ride different. They're all going to have different style of riding. They're never going to come on the same part of the track, the main line. I messed up on this picture. He was going too fast. And you can see it's focused on, not even there. There is it's in focus. That's in focus. But the front of his bike is not.